Hi, I was telling you in the last episode about that we kicked off the season in Formula 3 with Middlebridge with a three-car team and doing the British Championship. I also mentioned that I was living in sort of accommodation during the week. Um, to save me travelling up and down from the Midlands all the time. Now, one of the lads in the team, and again, I can't quite remember the timeline on this now, but one of the lads called Ed Smith said to me that he was living in digs as well up in Brackley, and this guy had got a spare room if I was interested. Now, the place I was living at previously, with the RAF lady, she had got posted abroad, I believe, and was essentially going to lock the house up. So I was looking for some more digs, and so Ed suggested that he would. He said, "Come round and have a look at this place. I'll introduce you to the guy that owns the house." Well, I went around there and met this fella, young chap, great big tall fella, and his name was Nick Worth. And if you know your F1, you'll know about Nick. Now, Nick was probably, I don't know, I think he was probably about 19 or something like that. He was fresh out of university, an incredibly clever guy. And he'd been working, I think he got his degree in aquanautics or something at Southampton University. Fabulously clever guy, but he was working as a junior aerodynamicist at March, and he was working underneath Adrian Newey. So I actually took a room in Nick's house, and we, we it was the same kind of arrangement as before. I would live at home part of the time, but then during the week, I'd be living down. We're working in Bicester, and then living in Brackley. But I had a word from Nick that there was a job going with the Leighton House March team on the test truck, driving the test truck, and Nick would put a word in for me if I was interested at all. Well, I certainly was, and the main thing about this is you've probably found from if you've watched this up to date. I'm not a mad keen motorsport fan, and it was a fabulous job, and I enjoyed it, and I sort of it was what I did, but doing the British Championship or just going around circuits in the UK, it didn't really appeal to me. What I'd enjoyed before at Goodyear was obviously with the F1 travelling around the world and all that entailed. So the chance to possibly go along for an interview for another F1 team, then yeah, I was gonna look at that. So Nick Worth arranged for me to go and meet the guy that was running the test team at the time, which was Robin Day. Now Robin is is a really experienced guy, ex-Brabham mechanic. He ran Nelson PK and things like that in the past, and was one of the famed Brabham boys really. But he'd come up to Leighton House. And I know he'd worked on the race team in 1987 with March when they were running a modified Formula 3000 car really, but then Robin was asked to develop run the test team to develop the new 881 car, which was Adrian Newey's first real F1 design. So I went and met Robin, and I went upstairs and I met the team boss, Ian Phillips, and essentially offered me the job. And I thought, yeah, we'll I'll have a piece of this. So it was goodbye to F3. Said cheerio to me pals and me workmates at Middlebridge. Packed my bags, and then off I went to Leighton House. I was still lodging at Nick's house, and that went on for a little while. But sort of got my feet under the table at Murdoch Road, not Murdoch Road. Where was it? Telford Road. That was where the factory was. And set about really getting the test truck sorted out, finding my way around it, meeting the guys, working with the guys, and just finding out what it was all about. I think one of the first tests that we did, we probably went. I think we did a test at Silverstone, and the drivers were Ivan Capelli and Mauricio Gugelmin. Ivan was, he's an Italian driver. He'd driven for March in the '87 season, but when they expanded it to a two-car team, Mauricio, who had been running in Formula 3000, he got the deal to race in the '88 season. Well, this would be probably the April or May, probably the May when I joined the team, and. So consequently, they came back to the UK. All the race team were in the workshop doing the race cars, and we were off with the test car. So we went off to Silverstone, but then I think the next test was a test at a tiny little, because the next race was Monaco. So we headed off to a test at a tiny little circuit in France called Croix-en-Ternois, and it was nothing much more than a go-kart track really, but it was a place where you could, because Monaco is all tight corners and short straights and everything. Well, this this little track at Croix was that type of circuit, so everything was good about that. And so from Croix, we actually headed off to Monaco. Now, I'd not driven an Arctic down in that area before, and I was a little bit of unsure of my way, but I was told that the best way to get into Monaco, when you get down there, because you come through past Nice and you come through on the southern autoroute and everything like that. But there are three ways of getting into Monaco. And they are these. One is called the Base Corniche, and that is a road that runs along the coast. And you can't go along there because they're all tunnels and there's no headroom to take a truck down there. So it's only cars and low vehicles. And then you have the Moyenne Corniche, which is the way that everybody goes into Monaco. That's where the trucks go. That's the direct route. But I missed the turning for that. All I saw was Corniche. Well, this road was actually the Alto Corniche. And I headed off into the Alto Corniche with a 40-foot truck. Now, as I'm getting higher and higher, I'm starting to realise that I might have taken the wrong road, because this was mountain goat country. And this road was actually where Princess Grace many years ago had gone off, had an accident, and sadly she died, as many people know. And I'm stuck up in this Alto Corniche, which I'm sure part of it as well is used on the Monte Carlo Rally. It was no place to be in a 40-foot truck. And I started to get pretty scared, because One thing as well, and because it was hairpin after hairpin, just tight hairpins. I'm in a right-hand drive truck, which is a disadvantage on a left-hand side road. So consequently, I'm really having to watch the back of my trailer, hoping that the rear wheels of the trailer are not going to go off the side of the cliff, because I'm looking down and I'm looking at Monaco, which is probably a mile below me. It was beautiful scenery, but I was shitting myself, to be fair, not to put a finer point on it. But the fact that I'm here doing these videos is testament to the fact that I managed to get that truck down. And I don't know to this day how I did it, because it was absolutely scary. But I did it, and we got down into Monaco, and what we were doing there was to be the backup and support for the race team. We'd got a spare car, we'd got the test car on there, which was going to stay on the truck unless it was needed for the race. Now, Monaco, as everybody knows, is an attritional race. You've always got a chance of a big shunt. So we got a spare chassis, a running car, a built-up car, ready to go. But as one of the smaller teams, and also having essentially the spare truck and the spare car, we were parked up in the glamorous area of the multi-storey car park below the Royal Palace in Monaco. It's an absolutely desperate place, and talk about the lack of glamour or anything to do with Monaco. But I'll come back to a little bit more of that with the next one. Okay.